Alrighty, so good morning, everybody. This is William Cheung, founder of CoreTradingConcepts.com and author of A Guide to Core Trading Concepts, the book. So what we have here today is the markets are gapping down to the 31s, which is pretty close to this area here of support, which is going to be interesting to see how it plays. My intention would be if the market, if the price on the 15-minute chart starts showing some tails around this level where I've drawn this line for, major support. I'll probably consider trying to play this to the upside, knowing full well that the momentum is going to be going to the downside. So with that much said, hopes the market will be starting up in the next minute or two. One more time, just to review the windows that I have open. This is my time in sales, level 2, executions window. Over here we have the position window. This is my 2-minute chart, 5-minute chart, 15-minute chart, and hourly chart. Hourly charts typically used for targets. 15-minute chart is typically used for areas of support and resistance. 5-minute chart is the play time. 2-minute chart is typically used for the entries. So there's only about another minute or less before the market opens. So we'll have to play it by ear. Once again, the intention is, since we already have a downtrend on the 15, what potentially may be a downtrend on the hourly chart, that if the price opens into this area here and I get some bottoming tails, the consideration would be to consider taking the trade into this area, run it up a little tiny bit, and then perhaps into the prior day's close, or depending on what we see on the 2-minute chart, and then short it to the downside, specifically because that would probably be the ideal way to play this. Alternatively, if the 27s, this line here, gets broken and moves to the downside, of course, that would be an immediate short if the market perpetuates that. So let's take a look and see what's going on in the next perhaps a few seconds from now, and we'll see what we can do. All right, so the market did open up into this area here, as we seen in the pre-market area, pre-market timing, and the market seems to be sitting on this level, and we'll see if we can make something happen here. We're looking for maybe a bottoming tail or some kind of indication that the price is going to move up. This one here is actually now a good time. So I'm in for 200 shares, perhaps even going into sorry, didn't mean I apologize about that. I didn't mean to cough into the microphone. Alrighty, so a little bit of distraction here. So okay, so I do apologize for that. Okay, so where are we? All right, so the price is down to the 26s into this level here. Appears that I've already gotten the 200 share position at the 37s. This is actually not looking that great. I should have gotten out of this. I think I need to put a mood on this microphone. Alrighty. So here's the bottoming tail going into an area of major support. I should have gotten out of this trade when it dipped all the way back down. It was early entry. Price seems to be hovering around, well, within 5 cents of my entry. So I'm currently down $8, $10 at the moment. We're going to have to stalk this really carefully just to excuse me, ensure that we don't get ourselves into too much hot water, and measure this accordingly. So what do we have? So it's coming into this area, this region here. Perhaps the bottom of this tail might serve as an area of resistance. And we'll have to evaluate this. At this moment, it's doing as we planned, other than the fact that when I had my coughing fit, the price bled down to the 25s, which I would never normally let that happen. So yeah, that coughing fit may have been significant. Oh, excuse me. So that coughing. Alrighty. I think I'm going to just simply have to mute the microphone. I do apologize for coughing into everybody's ear for the last 6 minutes or so. Alrighty, so we got a red bar here. Not feeling too terribly comfortable about it, so I'm going to get rid of one position or one lot right here, and take that at break even ish. So I'm at 300 shares. Last price is the 38s, and I'm going to need to figure out what's coming or going at this point in time. All right, so this thing looks a little bit red. We got some time in sales there that's looking a little bit red. We do have tails going to the bottom and tails to the top. So it's a little bit of an undecisiveness going on at this moment as we speak. Not too terribly comfortable going long anymore, going into this area as we spoke about earlier. And this thing keeps going a little bit more red than I like to see it. So I'm going to actually take this off the table, and actually we're going to short it to the downside. Alrighty. So for individuals that like holding a trade significantly longer during the day, the entry point would have been around this area here. I would presume it would have been the 38s, and the stop would have gone into this over the highs. Same thing on the 5-minute chart. The 2-minute chart would have been the entry to get in around the 38s, 35s. Stop would go above the 5-minute chart's high of the day, which is roughly about, I guess, just above the 40s. Alrighty, so this is looking a little bit better. So we're at the 24s. Average price for 200 shares short is the 32s. And so a little bit of positive sign that we're actually on the right side of the trade at this moment. As I mentioned earlier, the markets did gap down, ran up a tiny little bit on the 5 and the 2-minute chart. Now, my intention was to short it to the downside to follow with the downside momentum on the 15-hourly charts. And we just want to see if we can get enough support to the downside, or enough momentum to the downside, break through this level here that you see on the 15-minute charts, which is what's taking place at this moment. I think it has a great opportunity to come down to the first target here, which is roughly, it looks like it's around the 10s or so, and that could be an area that we would take some shares off the table. I only have 200 shares short at the moment, so it's not a whole bunch of shares that I'm holding by any stretch of the imagination. Um, yeah, a little coughing fit really didn't wasn't too terribly well timed, I guess. Alrighty, so we got a topping tail, still playing the momentum to the downside. There are tails here. Um, let's try to hold this trade a little bit longer. I'm going to short it even more aggressively. I'm in for 600 shares. Unrealized profit is $18. Average price is 26s, which is roughly about the price that we're currently at. 29s, 30s. All right, so I need to be careful here because it's going above my average price. Let's say if it goes into the 32s or so, I'll need to liquidate the entire position and need a little bit of a loss here. The total loss would be, well, at this moment it would be actually a gain because the price just moved a little bit favorably there. Alrighty, so halfway of this bar is getting taken out, so I'm going to add another 300 shares. I'm into it at the average price of the 24s, 900 shares short. Last price is at the 18, so I'm up a little tiny bit here. We're going to keep an eye on the hourly chart to see if we can hit this target down here. And not really sure what this price level is. It looks like the 05s where I drew this line. 05s, 08 area. And let's see if we can get some conviction here. Okay, so we're down to the 14s, still looking good. 14s, average price is the 24s. Alrighty. So we're going to need to be a little bit leery here as it comes into this 07s area. If I start seeing a little bit of buying, I might want to thin out perhaps half my position or so. Alrighty, so I'm going to take off, bring myself down to 400 shares, bank a few dollars here. So let's say if this price goes to the 12s, I'm going to liquidate, oh, there we go, 200 more shares, bank a little bit more. So it is coming, it just hit my area of minor support, and we'll see if it retraces a little bit, and we'll figure out how to play this. So I currently have 200 shares, average price is in the 20s, last price is in the 11s, keeping an eye on the 2-minute candle, thinking about that downtrend, and I think I need to close out the rest of this position if I don't get any conviction here. Alrighty. So I'm not too terribly comfortable with this vacillation that's taking place in this bar here with my position. Alrighty, so I'm going to liquidate another one more lot and put a little bit more in the bank there. And keep an eye on this. Still sitting on the area of my minor support level. Alrighty, here we go again. Alright, so I'm going to, I think this minor support level is actually holding, so I'm going to liquidate this position and hold on to the rest of it, hold on to the profits. So far I have 2,200 shares. I'm sitting at $130 net profit. And I may have gotten out of this a little bit too early because it looks like it's dipping down a little bit more. I don't know whether or not it's going to break the hourly area of support here. If it doesn't break it, and we get some form of momentum to the upside, maybe it's a temporary retracement. If that's the case, I need to see some bottoming tails. I need to make sure that this would be the area of target, which would be the high of the day. I don't want to see a retracement a whole bunch more with my intention or my bias being to the short side. I don't want to see it a whole bunch more than the 25s or so. But this looks like it's going to retrace a little bit from the downside movement. So we're going to have to monitor that fairly closely. On the 2-minute chart, if the price goes over the 15s, I'll consider that as a potential entry. If it breaks below the low of the day, which I guess it's something around the 02s, 03s or so, I'll also consider shorting it again. Although this bottoming tail on the 5-minute chart does look a little bit intimidating, as though that there's going to be upward pressure or maybe even a retracement of this downside move. Alrighty, so this is 17s hitting right now. So as I mentioned earlier, I should have actually probably talking too much, but let's take that 100 share position and see where we go. All right, so that's a nice little move to the upside. Don't want to see the 25s broken if we're going to short it to the downside. And this looks like that might be all the momentum. That's a lot of red coming in through the time of sales here. Alrighty, so I'm going to get out of this trade here, close that out. And I think I lost a few dollars there, 3 cents on that move there. Should have reversed and shorted that, but I think what I'll do is I'll be a little bit more conservative and short it if it breaks the low of the day. Alrighty, so this is a little bit awkward. Still looks like there's a little bit of upside movement. It's hard to tell at this very moment, but I like to keep that short bias. Hopefully this whole entire tail gets taken out and the price moves lower, breaking through this area of minor support on the hourly chart. But I would anticipate some form of retracement throughout the day. For the trend trading type of players, I had mentioned earlier, perhaps the entry would have been roughly around this area. I think it was a 30-35 area. The 30-35 area. Stop would be placed at the high of the day on the 5-minute chart, which would have been around the 43s. And we're looking for the downtrend for the day. Alrighty, so getting a little bit of mixed signals here. A lot of green coming in, It doesn't look like a whole bunch of conviction to the downside, even though it is printing red, but looking at the candle, it doesn't look that too terribly. All right, here we go. Nope, pulled back from the low of the day. Okay, so looks like the hourly chart might hold after all. So let me potentially, all right, let me get in for 200 shares. Here we go. Look at the 5-minute chart. We got a big giant bottoming tail, double bottoming tail. Let me get in for 300 more shares. I'm now up to 500 more shares, playing this up. We'll see if we can break the high of this bar here on the 2-minute chart, or the high of the current bar on the 5-minute chart. Average price is the 12s. Current price is the 16s. If it breaks over the high of this bar here, or the high of the current 5-minute bar, we're certainly going to add to this position. Alrighty, so now I need to be a little bit cautious here. This is now coming back into my price. I let that slip on me earlier when I had a little bit of a cough there at the very open, and that shouldn't have. I should have just killed the trade if because I was in that scalping mode. I think that cough got the best out of me. All right. So we're really not seeing a whole bunch going on right now. Still waiting for the high of this bar to be broken, or the high of this bar to be broken, if we're going to add to it, which looks like it might be taking place right now. A little bit of red coming in, but we got a couple of bar run here. Nice tails on the bottom here. Into the 24s, let me add another 200 shares and anticipate this to be broken. My average price is now the 15s or 16s. Average, the last price is the 25, so we're still in a good shape to try to maximize the profits a little bit here. High of the day has been broken. I'm still pretty bearish on the market as a whole, specifically because of the gap down, a little bit of a run down into an area of support. However, stocks all breathe, so we anticipate a little bit of a movement up. But the overall downtrend on the bigger time frames would be a momentum move to the downside as opposed to the upside. Alrighty, so the 27s was an area that we initially wanted to get into. I guess I can add a couple more shares to this position in the event that it goes over the 27s. Actually, I guess it already did into the 30s here. So just keep an eye on this. We'll keep our bias, providing that that we still continue that downtrend to on the higher time frames, but we can always play the retracement. If this turns into a pivot, this area here, or we have a little bit of a downside move, people that are playing trend trading would be able to move their original entry stop down to the new pivot area. However, we'll have to play this by ear because it looks like prices still hang out in this area, and we need that downward candle, the next 5-minute downward candle, to be red before the move, before a stop can be moved. The original entry stop can be moved down into the perhaps the 30s, 31s. Alrighty, so still a little bit bullish. I think I'm going to add another 200 shares here. As I mentioned earlier, don't want the highs to be taken out. It would be a bullish sign for a new high to be made and perhaps even change the trend of the lower time frames. But literally price can come all the way up into, let's say, the 50s without violating a downtrend. Perhaps even the 60s. Okay, so my last entry price was the 29s. Average price is roughly about the 19s. Current price was the 33s. Well, perhaps, yeah, the 33s was the last printed. So we're keeping a close eye on what's taking place here. It's coming up into the high of the day. Yeah, but the bigger time frame bias is still to the downside. Alright, so now we got the 40s. I think that this might be challenging the high of the day at the moment. We'll see if the high of the day actually provides any type of resistance. And we'll make our decisions from here. At this point in time, I will not let the 29s get violated. If the 29s get violated, I think I'm going to really aggressively get out of this position. However, we got some tails here on the top, so which is the high of the day. We keep an eye on what's forming. We're keeping an eye on the level two area as well as the time at sales. Try to get a feel for what's taking place. Alright, so we have a red bar, potential move to the downside, as I had mentioned, the high of the day being an area of resistance. Alrighty, here we go, challenging the high of the day again. See if this will hold. Okay, looks like a little bit of selling into it. A tiny little bit of selling pressure. Alrighty, so I'm going to take off about half the position here. And see what happens. We'll put a few dollars in the bank. If price breaks over the high, let's say the 45s, 46s or so, I might consider adding back to the position. Um, I think what's going to happen is I'm going to say, let's say the bottom of this current bar is broken. I'm going to liquidate my entire position because then otherwise I'll be on the wrong side of the trade, and I'd rather hold on to, or I'd rather bank the profits. The decision at this point in time is going to be whether or not the high of the day is going to be exceeded and the day is going to go green, or is this going to be a new pivot and turn the stock or the price to the downside. And that would be in conjunction with a bigger time frame momentum of downside movement. This would be more of a scalp or temporary retracement, which we'd have to evaluate accordingly. Alrighty, so looking a little flat on the tops here, I'm going to take off another 200 shares. Looks like the selling pressure here is, or this area here is producing a little bit of resistance or selling. And here we go with a great red candle. Let me take off another, let's say, well, I only have 300 shares. Let me take off 100. And of course, I don't want the bottom of this bar to be broken. Otherwise, this starts looking more and more like a sell setup or a downside move, or a continuation of a downside move. Alrighty, so I guess all right, there we go. So we're out. All right, so I closed off the trade here because this is looking like a sell setup and refusal to go higher. We have a couple of tails in this area here, not very big, but multiple ones, showing a little bit of pressure to, or sorry, a little bit of resistance for price to go higher, which somewhat correlates to the high of the day. My bias is still to the downside. However, oh, here we go, a little bit of buying. I don't know whether or not this area here will hold. One context is that if it goes over the 45s, I can go back long again, saying that there's potentially on the 15-minute chart, I would be playing this up to the 60s or around the 60 area, which would be roughly about a 20-cent move if it breaks the high of the day, and I'll use that as a safer entry, knowing that this whole entire area here, or the high of the day, is not providing any more selling, or there's no more selling pressure. The selling pressure has been eliminated if the price goes over the 45s. Okay, well, here we go. So now this is looking like it's going to follow through to the downside. It's hard to tell at the moment. We get a little bit more follow through. On the same note, although I don't have the chart open for the other indices, it certainly looks like the symbol SPY, the Standard & Poor's 500, is significantly weaker than the IWMs, which is what I'm currently trading right now. Difficult to say whether or not the Spiders is going to lead the way down, or if the IWMs, the Russell 2000s, are going to be able to hold the market up. I actually should have shorted this to the 30s. What do we got here? Okay, so I don't know if this 27 area is going to have any more validity to it anymore. Let's say if the price goes below the 25s or the 23s or so, if the price goes into the 23 range, maybe I'll get back in short again. I'd like to see it pass through this area here. Although I suspect that this area does not have as much credibility to it any longer, with the price passing through an area of major support a few times already. I'm not, okay, well, maybe I was proven wrong there. So here we go. So prices moved up. Looks like it bounced off of the 25s. We wanted to get into the 23 short. So this is a new line in the stand. If price comes back and revisits the 25s, moving to the downside with some type of conviction, we'll short it. If price goes above the 45s, we'll consider going long, and we'll keep an eye on how everything looks on different various time frames to help us make that type of determination. All right, so here we go. We're reapproaching this high of the day area. Just a quick summary. Total shares traded 4,200. Total realized profit is 303. And that's basically for roughly about a half hour, 40 minutes worth of trading so far. Alrighty, so we're not getting a whole bunch of conviction from what we can tell, either on the 5-minute, 2-minute charts. Looking awfully sideways on the 15-minute chart. Nothing, it's too early to say anything about the hourly chart at this point in time. So we'll hold our position, or we'll hold our buys. If the bottom of this bar here gets taken out, we'll end up shorting. If the high of the day gets broken, we'll consider going long. Alrighty, so this 2-minute bar has gone red. Looking forward to break below the 25s or the low of this green bar here, or this break below the bottom of this tail if we're going to take a short position. Alrighty, so I guess as I mentioned earlier, if it goes above the 45s, we're going to take a position to the long side. At the moment, this is looking like a higher low pivot on the 2-minute chart. Could be potentially a higher low pivot on the 5-minute chart. All right, so we're looking to enter around the 45s. Hmm. All right, so here we go again. This is a little bit different trading day. We had a series of green candles on the 2-minute chart, followed by a series of red candles. Nice tails, gave us a little bit of indication what's going on. Now we have some upper tails here. Problem what we're encountering, or what we're seeing at the moment, is this red, green, red, green kind of a pattern, a little bit sideways looking at the moment on the 2-minute chart. Not so bad on the 5-minute chart. This looks like this is going to turn into a pivot, which means that it's a higher low pivot here with the equal highs or similar highs over here. So there is a little bit of a bias to the upside on this at this moment. Of course, a bigger time frame momentum is still to the downside, like for example on the 15-minute as well as the hourly charts, still downside momentum. As you can see, there's tails all over the current day's candle, the current hourly candle, as well as the prior hourly candle. Same thing exists, of course, on the 15-minute chart. Can't even break the 45s here. Okay, so here we go. That red, green, red, green, red, and what might be green, hoping to get this price above or enter this if the price goes above the 45s. Okay, we got the 44s. We need the 45s to be printed inside this time and sales area if we're going to take the position, challenging the new high, or sorry, the current high. It's actually beginning to look a little bit bullish. Alrighty, so once again, this 44, 43, 42 level with all these tails up here is clearly a little bit stronger than what it appears. A lot of selling taking place, all these tails on the 5-minute chart, indicating the price moving down a bit. Or if not, perhaps not even moving the price down, but certainly not allowing it to move much higher. Alright, so this video is roughly about 45 minutes long so far. It's currently about 11 minutes after 10. Here we go again. So, as I mentioned earlier, this is looking very, very sideways at the moment. Even the 5-minute chart's beginning to look awfully sideways, which makes this a little bit more challenging to trade. Ultimately, if I wanted to play this as a congestion or consolidation area, or perhaps a very wide consolidation area, the price is basically moving between the 30s and 43s or so. I guess I could hit that for some in and out scalp, counter trend trading, whatever the case might be, which might be ideal. But at this moment, it's certainly a little bit annoying trying to see a multi-bar move, whether it be on the 2-minute chart or the 5-minute chart, ever since, what time is this? Ever since 9:55. So we've been hanging out here for almost 20 minutes, waiting for something to happen, whether it breaks over the 45s or breaks below the 25s. And we're clearly not seeing that type of conviction taking place. It seems awfully back and forth right now. Alrighty, so maybe this bottoming tail, higher lows on the 2-minute, is still a little bit upward movement here will give us something that will press it over the 45s. We'll see if it gets met with some selling into this area here again. Alrighty, so going green again. I think we're pretty much done. So quick summary. The overall hourly chart is pointing towards a downtrend. There's a bottoming tail on, let me actually expand that a little bit. So we do have a little bit of a bottoming tail on the opening bar for today on the IWMs, which sort of points a little bit upwards, but the greater time frame or the bigger trend of this time frame is to the downside. 15-minute chart, clearly a downtrend taking place. Bottoming tails on the first two 15-minute bars. So it's certainly looking a little bit on the bullish side as a retracement only, but downside move. Was a point in time where it actually held this level of major support. Same thing with the target area on the hourly chart. It actually looks like these lines were quite valid. 5-minute chart, high of the day was retested and is currently moving sideways. We do have some bottoming tails, same bottoming tails we see on the other time frames, but not seeing very much conviction in either direction at this point in time with this sideways movement. Pretty whippy on the 2-minute chart with all these tails obviously refuting the price to move higher. Haven't seen any conviction down here either to move the price lower. A lot of buying being met into this area here, causing this to look like a sideways range. Alrighty, so last attempt. If this candle here breaks below the 25s, all right, so there you go. So it's gone green. I was going to say if it breaks below the 25s, we'll short it. But now it's gone green and looks like it's going to stay in this range for a little bit longer. And this video has already gone into 49 minutes now, so I'm going to conclude this video. And I do apologize for coughing into the microphone earlier. That was something that was a little bit uncontrollable and a little bit on the unprofessional side. But nonetheless, I hope there was something to be learned from this trade here, other than me getting a little messed up right at the beginning of the day when I started coughing and the price started moving hard against me, and I wasn't in control of being able to manage that trade. Alrighty, so summarize, trading the Russell 2000, symbol IWM, total quantity traded 4,200 shares, Net profit and loss, $303. And that's pretty much it. So with that much said, once again, my name is William Cheung. I am the founder of CoreTradingConcepts.com and also the author of A Guide to Core Trading Concepts. Please visit us on our Facebook page, Core Trading Concepts Groups, and please join us inside our chat room. There's a link under other tools or additional services that will gain you access to our chat room. Thank you very much for your time today, and we look forward to continuing making these videos.